Hi, I'm Amy Ellis from amyscreativeside.com, and I'm excited to share with you my new quilt planner. And I have details about it at amyscreativeside.com/quilt planner if you haven't been there yet. There's a link below. I am really excited about this, and I'm sure some of you reading about it have thought, I can mess this up, so I'm not even going to bother. But I want to show you just how simple it can be. So I'm going to walk you through a really simple pattern using the worksheets so that you can get a feel for how easy it would be for you to do it. So let's get started. So here's how your quilt planner will come. Just, you will print it off. You can scale it down a little bit so that it fits your printer easily. And there's 5 sheets all included. And let's start here at the very front. And the first question is, how big is your quilt? So let's, we're going to make a 36 by 36 inch churn dash quilt. And our blocks are going to be, the next question, what size are your blocks? They're 6 inches. So finally, it asks how many blocks are needed to make or for the quilt size. So how many 6-inch blocks do you need for a 36 by 36 inch quilt? Sometimes your desired quilt is going to be a little bit smaller or bigger than what you can make with the size block that you're dealing with. So in that case, I suggest that you go up a little bit. Bigger is better. More likely to not have, cold toes at night. So, but in this case, it works out perfectly. I did a little prep work here. So I need 36 6 by 6 inch blocks to make that quilt. So there's 6 across and 6 down. 6 times 6 is 36. And of course, feel free to pull out your calculator for any of these steps. There's also a few more questions. Is there a negative space in your quilt? This instance there's not, but sometimes if you're alternating blocks, half of them are pieced and half of them aren't, you might want some help in calculating the fabric yardage for that. And do you want borders? And it walks you through, how many and the width, just to make you think about how much to make. So now I have my worksheet. This is where some of you are probably getting a little overwhelmed, but I even have an example in here that's going to stay. It's going to print every time you print it so that you can be reminded of how it works out. So the cut size, we're going to start, I also have them all labeled here on the side, A through L, just so that you can keep organized. It helps me when I'm working on a project. So I'm going to label my block here. A, B, C, D, and E, just so that I have a frame of reference in what I'm looking at. So A is 2.5 by 2.5. And I'm just going to write that in there. And how many do I need for each block? Well, that's the center, and I only need 1. So that's easy. And how many do I plan to make? I'm making 36. I already answered that on my other sheet, right? So that's easy. So now it's, we're multiplying 1 times 36. That's easy, 36, right? The next question is, assuming that your width of fabric is 40 or 45, I always estimate at 40 just so that I am sure that I'm not going to run out. It's just a little safety precaution I work in. So that I have plenty of extra. And having a couple extra pieces is less a problem than not having enough. So 40 divided by one side of the cut size. So I'm using these little instructions here, and one side is 2.5. So divide by 2.5. I've also included up here in the corner all the decimal conversions so that you don't have to think about how to put those together. So 40 divided by 2.5 equals 16. And number of pieces divided by the number cut from one width of fabric. So I have 36 pieces, and one width of fabric I can get 16. So 36 divided by 16 equals, we'll do the math on the calculator, it's 2.25. I always round up because I'm going to cut that strip one way or another, so I'll just put 3 here. Okay, so now the strips to cut, which is the 3, multiply that by the remaining side, which happens to be the same one in this case, and that's 2.5 equals, so 3 times 2.5 equals 7.5 inches of fabric needed. So in this case, again, I'll round up to 8. 8 inches, and that's divided by 36 to equal the yardage actually. So 2.222, I'm actually going to call that a quarter yard. So when in doubt, I round up, as you've seen throughout this exercise. So that way I'm working in little bits of extra every little step of the way. And if I have multiple cuts using the same fabric, I will wait to add up my inches until the end and then decide on the yardage. So a lot of times I'll do all the same color fabric first and then the next fabric. So also included is some more instructions for negative space and how to think about getting your layout. And then suggested quilt sizes. They're just some of my favorite sizes. You can make whatever size you want, but if you need a guideline, there you go. And then calculating binding, just the little formula that you need to make sure you have enough length to go around your quilt. So, and then this to the cutting mat is another great piece. So I would take my, I'm going to move this down so you can see it, my cut size. At the same time as I'm filling this one out, I would fill this one out as well. So 2.5 by 2.5 is piece A. See how they correspond? And I decided that I need 3 strips at 2.5. And then I need a cross cut 2.5 inches again. And the number of units needed are 36. That way when I get to my cutting mat, I just know that I need to cut 3 strips at 2.5 and then cross cut 36 pieces at 2.5 inches as well to get all my squares. And I put little lines over here. Sometimes if I'm cutting over hundreds of pieces and I can't do it all at one time, I'll write down, okay, this was 64, and then I'll add it to the next 64 and then check it off when it's finally complete. So that's what that little space is for. That's why this cutting mat's great. And you have your yardage required, and then you know exactly what you need to cut when you have all your fabric. So the last piece is just a blank piece of graph paper. So you can make whatever you want on there. It's really just that simple. So I hope you'll try it out and see what you can do with your own creativity and making your patterns work for you. So thanks so much, and hope you have a great day.